Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tower Babble Game of Thrones breakdown for Season 4, Episode 6, The Laws of Gods and Men, right? That's what it was called this week?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So it's a little different this week. I didn't put together the show notes, which is first time for this show anyway. And I was saying on Twitter, if anyone was paying attention to our Twitter feed, at Tower Babble Cast, so it's at Tower BABBLE Cast on Twitter, that it was going to be up tomorrow because that's when we were planning on recording it, because you had work and I had you had work, so
I had a lot of work.
So, but due to rain, we managed to get in the podcast today. So today's Monday. We're doing it Monday night. So if you're listening to this on Monday night, you're probably one of the first people to be listening to it.
Sure, that's important to state right now.
But and then it's even happening even later because I was having computer problems, which is even more rare. But that's okay now because, like I was saying, Dan, before the show, I have a beer, and we're going to talk Game of Thrones, and that makes me happy. So, let's see. Well, I should do the old intro part where I tell you that, we're a Game of Thrones podcast, but we talk about the show as a show, not the book. There is book podcasts out there. We're just not one of them. I'm sure Dan would love to talk about book
Probably
stuff.
Would, yeah. Well, I have no one to talk to about.
And so don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything beyond this week's episode of Game of Thrones, everything that's happened up till now. Make sure to listen to us and subscribe to us on iTunes if you're not already. Write us a nice review, that would be kind. And make sure to check out the website. Dan writes his written reviews each week on the blog there, which is www.towerbabblepodcast.com. So, with all that out of the way, we can jump right into the show, which had a new location at the beginning of the intro credits. And it's something that's been talked about, or a place that's been talked about for a long time. Like, probably since Season 1, people have been talking about it. So Braavos makes its first appearance, and it includes the big statue, which is called what?
The Titan of Braavos.
Is it explained why his sword is broken, or is that like...
Oh, it's just old. It hasn't, like...
There'd be some sort of significance to that. But,
no.
Okay, no. But, so that's cool. Other than that, the rest of that is normal. But, so we have Stannis and Davos picking up on that the last time we met them, about the Iron Bank. And we actually get to meet the Iron Bank, which is nice. Finally.
But it still counts, so you still have to take a drink.
Oh, okay, hold on. All right. So they're in there. They're made to wait, which I liked his Stannis' pacing back and forth. He just seems like a very impatient man in general. And then when they do finally meet the, I guess, council, I don't know what you'd call them, the secretaries,
the brokers,
sure, loan officers,
sure.
We get something that's I fairly cliche, I think, in most mediums, is like the whole number. We're different because we deal with numbers, and numbers don't lie, and all that. You know what I mean? We've probably seen that a lot. I've seen that a lot in a lot of different places. And now
it applies.
Yeah, I know, but it's a cliche thing to say, which is fine. I'm not against cliches. I still liked it. I really liked the guy who was like the one speaking with the beard. Mm-hmm. He reminds me a lot of accountants that I know from school.
Makes sense.
So I thought that was right on the nose there. Other than that, I liked. So they kind of got turned down, but in the end, Davos makes kind of a spirited
case
as to why they should loan him a bunch of gold, or them,
which seems like bad banking.
Didn't they just go over saying all the numbers meant that we shouldn't lend you any money, and then they're like, actually, you know what, you only have the nubs of your fingers have been cut off. That's convincing. Here you go.
Well, I guess it shows that Stannis pays his debts, doesn't just talk about it and all that, but like there's still a huge debt that the crown owes.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier to cut off someone's fingers than it is to pay back a massive loan.
3 million gold dragons.
Is that what they said? Is that or
I'm
is that
pretty
book
sure that's what
knowledge?
it is.
Is that book knowledge? Maybe it's
Yeah.
different in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, mate, whatever. So I don't know what a gold dragon is. Is that like unit of measurement? You get like
Yeah,
one, you
there's
get like a
gold
ton, and then a
dragons, there's
dragon.
silver stags, and there's coppers.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, so it's not like it's like a loony or like a toonie. They have just
Yeah.
different names. It's not like you have like 1 ton of gold. I thought you had like one dragon of gold was equivalent to like a ton and a half or
No,
something.
no, it's a coin, but
Okay.
it would be equivalent of more than like a loony or toonie. It'd be, a lot.
It's a denomination, right?
Yeah.
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 So it's like $100 bill, a Benjamin, but a gold dragon. Okay, no, that's fine. And then he goes and meets up with who? Davos goes and he sees who? We've seen him before, I think, on the show, right?
Yeah, his name is Salador San.
Yes.
He's just a pirate.
We saw him once, I think, once or twice.
Oh, a couple times in season 2. He was
Yeah.
prominent in season 2.
When before they attacked.
Yeah,
the
like
Blackwater.
his ships were a large part of Stannis' fleet. He's a pirate friend of Davos's.
good
Like
to know he
they've known each
survived.
other for a long time. Yeah, it was one of his ships that saved Davos. I'm pretty sure from that rock, or was supposed to be.
Oh, that makes sense. And so he gives him like a pouch with a bunch of coins in it, convincing him to go back. To, I guess now he has the money, he can buy people instead of having to convince them.
Well, the whole thing with the pirates, the Salador San and his men, is like they had to be paid, right?
Yeah.
And they were promised all the plunder and stuff from King's Landing. So Davos, they were owed a lot of money. That's why they wouldn't fight for him anymore. So he paid them back, got them back with him. So that's a large part of their fleet, or a large addition to their fleet, I should say.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what just happened? We were so close to just losing everything on this show. I plugged everything into my computer. I was saying I was having computer problems. I moved my computer back up to my room, and I didn't plug it in, and it was at like 2% battery. And I
Well,
looked
that's
over.
dumb.
I looked over. No, it wasn't when we started this show. Obviously, I looked over, and it was at 2%, and it was like warning. We're about to close your everything. So I plugged it in while you were speaking, and whew, crisis averted.
All right.
But I completely ignored everything you were saying.
Well, I'm not going to repeat myself, so...
Well, you choose your words carefully, and you never repeat yourself,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. The other thing I just want to mention, though, pertaining to the other, I think like 2 weeks ago when they were talking about going to Essos,
Yeah.
is that's where all those sellsword companies like the Second Sons and the Golden Company and blah, blah, blah are as well. So they're already in Bravos. They're already on that side of the
Oh,
the
so you're
narrow
saying they
sea.
might stay there a little bit longer?
Well, I'm saying if they have this money and that's what their plan, that might be what happens next
Okay.
episode or something like that.
Interesting. So
I honestly don't know because this is all this is an addition. Like this didn't happen in the books the same way. Like it's completely added.
good. I like when you're kept on
Yeah.
your toes.
Yeah, a lot of this actually was new.
That'd be interesting if if there's any sort of crossover with Dany. It seems unlikely because that's kind of different area of Essos altogether. But it would be cool. Just when they
She's still pretty far removed.
Yeah.
But it does show you exactly how, like the narrow sea. You have to remember is pretty narrow. Like we keep complaining about how these characters, like they seem to just get there so quickly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the narrow sea is pretty narrow, and Bravos is one of the closer cities to Westeros.
I mean, it is called the Narrow Sea. So
Exactly.
is there a wide sea? Like, okay, I've been wondering this because if you look at the map of I guess Westeros and Essos, and there's only two continents, right?
Kind of. There's a southern one as well that they never really talk about.
But you know how you have obviously the map of the globe on a flat surface is like laid
You don't
out.
know that it's a globe or not.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, could you go far west and then just come around to the other side, or is there like a undiscovered land?
All we know about that is it's called the Sunset Sea, and anyone who's ever traveled that way has never come back.
Huh.
It's kind of like Europeans traveling to the New World before
Yeah, but those people came back.
some of it. Like no, I'm saying before it was a thing. Before people knew about North America, if people decided to sail west and didn't come back, it's like the same idea,
Yeah. Okay. No, I see what you're saying. So it's not clear whether or not it connects on the other side.
Yeah, we have no idea. In the books they talk about like legends of like other lands that are to the west that are plentiful and full of beauty and blah blah blah. But you don't know.
You know what that reminds me of, and this is completely off topic, but so one of my friends from work, he calls when you're out with strangers or out with friends you don't really know that well, and your phone dies. He calls it Cortezing it because like Juan Cortez or whatever, that explorer.
Yeah, yeah.
He like burned his ships when he reached the New World because he said,
That's hilarious.
yeah, right. Because
Yeah.
he's like, well, if we're gonna survive here or we're gonna die, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're either gonna thrive and survive with these new people,
friend, yeah.
or you're gonna die.
That's hilarious.
I also thought it was hilarious.
And I'll just bring that back to Game of Thrones. They actually don't. They're not in the show. I guess they're called the Royn. You know when they say the King of the Andals and the First
Yeah.
Men, they're also supposed to say the Roynar in there. That's another group of people that came from Essos, led by Nymeria, and they also burnt their ships when they landed in Essos or in Westeros. Same idea.
Cool.
That's who Arya named her wolf after Nymeria, who led those people.
That's cool.
Just a little bit of
It's
trivia.
weird that they wouldn't put that in with like, because if they've mentioned so if she named her wolf after Nymeria after that character, then it's weird that they wouldn't also include that in the whole title thing when they say it, because they said it like 3 times in this episode at least.
Yeah.
So it's just weird that they would just remove that.
Well, I mean, they're arguably like the smaller part. Like, there's just like a group of people that came from
Well, I know, but I'm saying,
a certain area.
but if you're gonna do the whole spiel like they do from the book, why remove that? I don't know. It's not. I guess
I
not
guess
really
it's
a
just
big
something
deal.
you don't have to deal with.
I
It was
guess.
like the smaller of the immigrations.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of long titles, how many titles does Dany have?
tons.
Like so many, like the Unburnt, Mother of Dragons. By the way, Unburnt and Mother of Dragons could just be the same. Like you could just condense the two.
No.
The Unburnt Mother of
She didn't
Dragons.
just give birth to them. She was also unburnt by them.
Oh God. Okay. And what else? What else did she have? Breaker of Chains.
Bigger chains, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Plains.
Oh, okay. Even though she isn't really.
She's also Daenerys Stormborn,
Yeah, right. Because she was born.
the rightful queen of Westeros, all that stuff. Yeah,
And then
she's done a lot.
did she do the whole Andals thing? And
I don't think Missandei did in this episode, but I think
she-
in the book she does. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like always a paragraph, you know?
you just skip over it. You're like, okay, I've heard this one before.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll just talk about Dany's scene now, I guess. Since
because
we're
we're there,
on
yeah.
we're on the topic. So she's in Marine. She's in her pyramid, and she's there's a word for it, but she's having people come in that make their
She's
pleas
holding
to her.
court, whatever.
And before that we got a sweet scene with a dragon killing a goat. Which was pretty cool.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And like the dragon's fucking big too now.
Yeah, I mean, like
They get bigger and bigger every time we see them.
Weren't they that big last time we saw them? No.
Last time we
slightly smaller than that.
I don't know. That seemed really big to me, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess you consider how like in the first episode, whenever we saw them, like she was sitting on that rock and there was that one dragon next to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one seems like it was like twice or 3 times the size of a person,
it's
right?
the same dragon. Yeah.
So maybe it is bigger. It just seems like it's growing pretty quick. So it's like again, this whole timeline thing is where it gets me confused. But anyway, that's not a big deal. So she's dealing with the whole ramifications of what happens when you come
dragons.
in and have that and when you sack a city, I guess.
Yeah, well, the whole point of her staying is that she's learning how to rule, and this is what she would have to deal with in Westeros. She has to be able to rule and deal with her people. She can't just ignore them.
Mm-hmm. So the first guy complains about his goat being killed, and then she's like, "Okay, I'll pay him back 3 times as much." A nice move.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next guy, I guess he's like a highborn type in the Essos.
Isdar Zolarak.
What?
That's his name.
Does he have like? Does he? Actually, I don't tell me. Never
Yeah.
mind. Anyway, so his dad was one of the ones that was crucified along with the other noblemen.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know what you would call them, the rich ones,
The wise masters
of Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's kind of pissed off about it. Wants to give him a good burial. But I feel like there might be a little bit more to it. Like there's something.
Maybe.
It's hard to say.
It's also not clear if she said just bury his father or take them all down.
Yeah.
You know,
It seems more like it would just be the one. I mean,
that's what I.
but then if like you have the one, then everyone's like, well, what about my dad? Or
Pretty much. I mean, also same thing applies to the goat herder. You know,
yeah,
you
set a
reimburse one
precedent.
person 3 times. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is like she's a novice ruler.
yeah.
She doesn't know how to deal with these things.
And I like how she's like, oh god, okay, that one's over. How many more left? 200. Like, oh, goddamn. All right, send the next one in. Yeah. Does she? What's her name? Nymeria? No.
Missandei.
Missandei. Nymeria is the other word you said earlier.
Yes, it is the word I said earlier.
Does she do the whole intro every time a new person comes in?
Probably.
It just seems
That's
that doesn't like.
ridiculous.
She'd be like, okay, let's just write it on a plaque on the side of the wall. People read it before they come in. Anyway, is there anything you want to say about this scene before we move on?
No, not really. Just Daenerys. It's she's learning that it's not like really black and white. You know, ruling. There are nuances to it that she's not used to. You know, you can't please everybody with one blanket action.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's good for her to learn, I guess, because she's fucking deciding to stay there and not do anything.
not do anything exciting or important. Yeah. So she's just ruling Marine. She's not even the whole bay, just Marine.
Oh, I think it's Slaver's Bay that she meant, but she's ruling in Marine, and I think she wants to help the people of the other cities.
Okay, well it just wasn't made clear because like they said, oh hey, by the way, those cities have kind of been falling back into whatever, and then there's like she didn't do anything about it, so.
Well, yeah, she's still practicing.
All right, all right. Practice makes perfect, right? What's that saying? You do something 10,000 times, and then it becomes second nature, routine, something like that, or you become a pro. I don't remember what it was. There's something. Look it up. You something.
That's not our responsibility. Times. That's the listeners.
Well, no, it's whatever. Google is out there for a reason. Which helped me today when I was fixing my computer. Thank goodness for Google.
Wait, how did you Google something if you didn't have a computer?
No. The printer wasn't working.
Oh.
Which was part of my computer's fault. The internet part was still working.
Oh.
It's okay. It was something important. It was very important that I had to print off. It was, just, I don't want to. Let's not derail the show here. So let's see. The Dreadfort. So we have so it's episode 6 of season 4, and we haven't seen the Greyjoys since episode 10 of season 3. So it's been 6 episodes, and now we finally see them, and it's literally the shortest moment. You'll see Yarra comes in.
Pointless scene.
I remember I was watching, I was like, okay, it's cool because it looks cool. It's like action and stuff. So
she gave a pretty good speech. Like she read the thing and then like actually pumped her troops up. I've always hated her character, but I think she did a good job in this episode. That actress.
Yeah. And then she comes in and then she tries to get Theon back, and then that doesn't work. And then she leaves, and then she's like, Theon's dead, and then leaves. I assume that's the last we'll ever see of her.
It's fucking stupid. They go in there, they kill a bunch of his guys. Ramsay's there topless, like just with one other guy, and she's already like at the beginning of the scene, she whipped that guy in the face with an axe.
Yeah,
they don't mention it in the shows, but axe throwing is a big deal in the Iron Islands, and she's a really good axe thrower.
That's a big deal. What do you mean? In what way?
Like they do it a lot. Like instead of archery, they throw axes.
But people are also archers. Actually, no, you don't see a lot of archers
from the Iron Islands. No. I know they do have some, but like axe throwing, it's like a competition thing. Like they play what's called, I think it's called finger dancing or something like that, where they stand next to a target and throw axes at each other and like shave each other, like cut each other's hands off, basically.
Ooh, so it's kind of like that Scottish thing. It's kind of like Scottish hurling. No one else really does it.
Yeah. It's just like some weird dumb game they play. But anyway, she's really good at throwing axes. So what I'm saying is she's there, Ramsay and one other guy.
With an axe. She has an axe in her hand.
He isn't wearing any armor at all.
Of any kind. In fact, he's not wearing any clothes, essentially.
Like, what the fuck is that?
That was just throw an axe and kill him.
Exactly. No, we better get away. Also, this one dog is going to get us, so...
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, oh, she's like, I'm going to open this cage. I'm like, you have weapons, right? Like, dogs are... Like they also don't wear armor.
Their face. They also die when you hit them in the face.
Yeah. I was like, this is like strategically, this is odd. Like I just don't understand. I don't know.
This is again same with last week with the actually to much more than last week because last week was okay with the Jon and Bran thing. Like it still felt rushed. Mm-hmm. This stuff that was added, but like that one was a little bit more satisfying. This one just feels like a waste of my time. They go there. Yeah, okay, yeah. We understand that Theon is completely broken and now he's only Reek. He refuses to do anything because he thinks it's a trick. he just wants Ramsay to love him so that he doesn't torture him anymore. We get all that, but like, it's just such a waste of time. And also, how many people are at this castle? How did like five of them just walk out because a dog was
Yeah.
chasing them? Like, what happened with the
Yeah.
dog? It's just sloppy. It's
Well,
just
no,
thrown
yeah, it
together.
was weird. I exactly. It's like you better run, and the next scene is boom, they're at their boat, and they're like, and that's it, and then it's over.
Yeah. And like you said, like the episode 10 of last season was like a huge. She was like calling her little banners. She was going. There was like this triumphant
It was
music.
super
She's going to
tramp.
save Theon, and then it's just like, oh yeah, no, not
It was
anymore.
one of the
Done.
most memorable scenes to me because of it, like the I guess shot composition, like just it looked
Yeah.
cool, and then you just never. It's 6 episodes later, and you
No
haven't touched on
payoff.
it. Like,
And
okay.
then when you finally do, it's like a wah, wah, like nothing.
An oboe? Is that an oboe that play? No, oboes are wind instruments, right?
Baritone.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of the tuba. The tuba.
Baritones are like tubas,
Are they?
kinda.
Are they also like brass? We
Yeah,
considered brass.
yeah, for sure. I don't know much about music, but
I mean,
yeah,
we took what? We took band in
we played
grade
trumpet.
7 and 8. Yeah. And okay, so do you play a tuba the same way, like we're doing the thing with your lips?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so weird because it's like just makes it completely such a different sound. I guess. It,
Anyways,
and,
yeah, try to find a segue for that.
yeah, well, this week in tubas. Speaking of playing music, they play music in King's Landing.
Okay, there you go. It's skillful.
And actually, well, is there anything else we wanted? Oh yeah, no, we shouldn't move on actually yet because there's a whole other scene
Oh yeah, I guess.
that's actually pretty important. I think it was one of the better, well, more better acted scenes of this episode anyway. So you have Ramsay, and he's I guess it's so weird because like you don't want to trust him ever. I mean, because he's literally insane.
Yeah.
But he's like rewarding Theon / Reek for like being loyal. But I mean, really, it's weird because like yeah, he was loyal, but really it's just because he doesn't trust anything around him. It's like you just assumed it was another trick, right?
Yeah, and then he also reveals that it's not really a reward. Like he was planning this anyways. He just is saying that like it's like for so that Reek will do what's asked of him. He wants to bathe him and shave him and blah 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 and make him look like Theon because he has a mission for him. So he has to pretend to be Theon.
Yeah. So to me, this is okay. It's very interesting. Like I like all that's yeah. It's very like it's got like I said layers. We like to talk about the layers a lot. It's got a lot of layers there, but I think that this might backfire on Ramsay. It could anyway. That okay? So you spent all this time breaking him down, right? You know, Reek, blah blah blah. You're like, and all the stuff we didn't see. Never mind the stuff we did see, right?
Yeah.
And now you kind of like giving him back some, even though he's like, oh, you're playing a role or whatever. Like you're still giving him back some, I guess, a little bit of humanity by kind of like reminding him that that's who he used to be in this like. Even though it might be for some other reason or in the back of his mind, he might it's not, but like it might just plant that seed that might eventually help restore him or like just help him in some way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could. I guess Ramsay kind of feels like he's completely broken and completely under his control.
Yeah. I mean,
He basically is, but
yeah,
like you're right. It could lead to something else.
That's my prediction anyway. That's
because what we can assume from this is because Ramsay was told he has to take Moat Cailin, which is held by the Ironborn. He's using Theon to talk to them because he's their prince, right?
Yeah, I mean, but they never liked Theon that much, or they probably
Exactly.
don't even know Theon.
Yeah, yeah.
Which either one. Well, I mean, both.
So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. Well, you know, but I don't. And
But
that's
this
why
is
I'm
also
excited.
kind of different. Well, no, not as different. Yeah, no, I do know what happens.
No, don't tell me. All right. So I guess we'll move on into the meat of this episode, and I guess the majority of this all took place in King's Landing, similar to the third episode or second episode with
The
Joffrey's
second
death.
episode was all the wedding. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was that the third?
second.
Second, yeah.
Because I remember saying how the first one was all table setting, the second one was
Yeah.
like boom right in there.
Yeah.
So we have a small council meeting, right? With now we have Oberyn and Mace are both there, which is good. And they really make Mace out to be like the biggest buffoon, which I'm not sure if that's like is that out of, is like do they do that in the
Yep. No,
book?
that's what he's supposed to be.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He's pretty much just does
He's
what he's told, and he's kind of a dimwit.
yeah. I mean, like Tywin like is like might as well he's might as well be Tywin's squire. He's like
Yeah.
fetch my pen and quill, like or quill and paper, whatever. Pen and quill are the same thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
Pens
They
don't
are.
exist back then. Well, they're not really the same. A quill is very different than a pen.
Wow.
Not
But
very
anyway,
different. Yeah. But what's nice is that they're talking about stuff that we know is going on over in Essos with Dany, and they're kind of addressing it in some way, which is nice.
they're actually acknowledging her as a threat. They've acknowledged the dragons now and the
Yeah.
fact that she has an army. So it's not just rumors anymore. Like they know about this.
Yeah. So what's with Cersei and her like whatever, she's just a child thing. Like I don't like to me, and maybe she's like used to dragons or whatever. But even though none of them have seen them in forever, it's like you tell someone that they have 3 dragons and an army of world famous unsullied or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, not big deal, right? Like what makes her think that that's like not a concern?
I think it's just because Cersei has other things on her mind, like other priorities right now.
Yeah, but
And
like, what else
Daenerys
are they
is,
going
like,
to be
a
talking?
world away.
Yeah, but what else are they going to be talking about at the small council?
Yeah, well, I mean, Cersei really shouldn't even be there. She has no position. She just was there.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's not Queen Regent anymore. Technically, right?
Wait, no. Now she is again. No, she's not. Yeah, you're right. Marjorie is. No,
because after
shit. No, yeah, Cersei is. Never mind. She
Cersei's
is
the Queen Regent until
Yeah.
he's married to
Fuck,
Marjorie.
that's so stupid.
that she's Queen Regent again?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So yeah.
that she does have power. It just seems that like it's like okay, if you don't really care, just don't say anything at all. Like you don't have to be like jump in with like comment about how it's not important. I don't know. It just that bothers me. Like I understand that she's probably more concerned about the
Right
trial
now
that's going to happen
yeah.
in an hour and a half or whatever. But like, it just seems odd because it does seem pressing. Like okay, so the trial's going to happen and you're probably going to get what you want with Tyrion being sentenced to death or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a problem you're going to have to deal with eventually. Like, why would you just be like, who needs it?
Because like for exactly that reason, she doesn't have to deal with it right now, and that's all she cares
She's
about
just
right
like
now.
the Westeros' best procrastinator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the other thing, like in the books, it's more like they only get rumors about Dany in the East. Like the dragons are never confirmed, or like at this point, anyways, like they don't even know. They hear rumors of dragons in Astapor by the time Dany's in Marine. You know, like it's all kind of
No, it's slow
dated.
moving. Yeah, they don't have no internet. It's not like they.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no Twitter. There's no one in Marine tweeting. Man, I was eating a sandwich, but like, whoa, dragons.
as much as Varys says his little birds tweet at him, they're not that fast yet.
That's a good one. They also mention the Hound being spotted in the Riverlands, right?
Yeah.
But no mention of a girl with him. So that's
Because nobody knows this Arya. They just
No.
like,
But I mean, like, it would just be something like, be like, oh, hey, the Hound spotted, and there's like a small child that he's carrying around with him. And that's not something important to mention.
probably not. No, they're more concerned with the Hound killing Lannister soldiers.
Yeah. So all the way. Also, how did they? This is weird because there was no one around when he killed those,
Well,
other than those. Okay.
The innkeeper and stuff. Right?
Yeah. So there's just that was it though. So we have to presume that he was the one that told whoever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like and any other Lannister party would have come there, probably seen the bodies, or they were like they would have asked questions. Even if they hadn't seen the bodies, would have asked questions either way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in that innkeeper's best interest to just tell the truth. He has no loyalty to the Hound. It doesn't matter to him. He just wants to be left alone.
That's true. Yeah. So they put a bounty on his head, I guess.
Yes.
Of what 100
Silver stags.
Oh, hey, there you go. I wasn't sure what that meant when they said it in the show, so now I understand.
What I don't understand is how many silver stags go into one gold dragon.
There's no like direct like
Because like,
correlation.
why say 100 silver stags? You would think 100 silver stags is one gold dragon, but
Maybe it's
like,
1,000 silver or like 500,
I don't know.
or maybe it's like the imperial measurement where it's like 22.
No, that's I don't know. I don't think they've thought it through.
It's not like a metric system.
I don't know.
Though
They never actually say. There's no.
They do
metric
mention
for it.
pounds though, right? Like they weigh things in pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the same. They don't
That's
have their
true.
own weighing system. It's still just pounds, so that's good. Everything else is pretty much okay. Well, I want them to like how like they talk in miles, right? As
I think,
well.
yeah, miles.
Okay, and leagues.
Sure.
That's the C one, right?
It's for anything, really. It's just a unit of measurement.
You can use a league if you how far you're
Yeah.
traveling over land. No, I
Yeah.
thought that was
Yeah,
just for
you can. For
water.
sure you can.
How many leagues under the sea can dragons go?
Why would it
Why would the dragon even go underwater? So hey, hold on. My question is, this just popped in my head. So the all the different house like insignias, like so direwolf, we know those
Yeah,
exist or are real.
yeah.
Dragons we know are real, even though they're kind of like out and like weren't really real for a while, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
You're gonna ask, are lions real?
no, lions are. Well, I guess we haven't seen one in that show.
I know
in the
it's
show.
weird. There's no lions in Westeros. Like they're never really mentioned. Like they're mentioned in the books, but you don't like they're not a thing.
Yeah, so
They're just a thing that everyone agrees exists.
no,
But
no,
they
no,
don't talk about.
but no, but like the stag is also real, right? So
Yeah.
that's also a fact. But are what's the giant
Krakens?
krakens? Yeah, is that a creature in Westeros slash
I think
that world?
they're more akin to dragons. Like they're kind of like sea dragons.
Sea dragons,
Yeah,
not as useful as real dragons, by the way.
krakens. Yeah, they're one of those things. Like in the books, they refer to boats being taken by krakens, but that's kind of like the way a kraken like originated in our mythology.
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know,
like
it was like giant squid or
yeah.
just squid in general that people saw and like that didn't know how to explain it, so that's what they called it.
Yeah,
You
but
know.
like a kraken's different. Like it's like the Godzilla of squid, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Or
these
octopuses.
things get exaggerated by scared
Octo-
sailors and stuff.
Octopuses or octopi?
I think either's allowed.
It's like fish and fishes. You can say both.
Can you?
Yeah, you
You
can.
can't say a million fishes.
You can. This is okay. I'm
You
basing
can't
this off.
say I had
I'm
three
basing
fish.
this off
No,
of.
you can't.
I'm basing this off of an episode of Kim Possible, where
Oh, shit, you're right.
you remember that? What is that? How many fishes is that? It's like it's fish or fishes. Both are applicable plural terms of the singular word fish. Remember that?
No, I don't, but it sounds legit, so I'll take your word for it.
You remember how funny that show was? Oh
It's
man,
hilarious.
it's so funny. Should I buy this digital shoehorn? What's a digital shoehorn? Putting on your digital shoes. Okay, so let's get past the.
Too many tangents this time,
That's
man.
good. I like it though. I like it.
That's organic, yeah.
Yeah, and then so we get past the small council meeting, and what's the next scene?
Oberyn and Varys in the throne room. Which here's another thing I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking another tangent, but these scenes are great. This is probably one of my picks or my second favorite scene in the show, other than the big one, obviously. And they're always great when you have like Varys and Littlefinger or Varys and Oberyn or Tywin and someone else like looking at the throne. None of them sit the throne, but they
Yeah.
all like are conspiring around the throne, and they're actually the big players. There are always these great scenes in the throne room, even in season 1 with Jaime and Ned and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But like, where are these people going that they're meeting in the throne room? Where was Oberyn going? Varys was there. He just walks in, and they have this. Oh, you're here too. Let's have this conversation.
Well, I assume it's
not-
like
it's
in
not
a
like a
central
thoroughfare.
location. It's probably
No,
no, it's not.
I don't imagine it's a room where a bunch of other rooms come off of it. It's kind of. I feel like
we
that
know
would be the
we
end.
know for a fact there is a room with a bunch of other rooms that come off of it. Like on the sides, like I remember
Yeah, I guess.
there's
but,
like all those there's like those passageways on the side there, and you can get there's doors and stuff.
It just feels like that wouldn't be a thoroughfare, you know? Like, it feels like if you're going to the throne room, you know you're going to the throne room because it's a throne room. You're not going there because you have to get to the washroom on the other side.
You're also assuming that they're just running into each other and didn't have plans to meet there ahead of time, you know?
Yeah, it didn't really seem like they did, but
No, but like
Why would they?
with other times, like with other scenes, it's very possible that they plan to meet and speak, and it's just like a central location to do that.
I think I bought it more the other times too because like I can understand Littlefinger and Varys maybe had like business around there,
those
and
were
I guess Oberyn's on the council now, so
Yeah.
he might. But
Those were the best scenes, by the way, and this obviously calls
Yeah.
back to those scenes with Varys and Littlefinger. It doesn't quite hit the same levels because those were like peak
Yeah.
Game of Thrones levels.
because Oberyn isn't really as much as he's like as smarter as them. He's not like he doesn't have the same goals, you know.
Yeah.
he's not the puppeteer, and he's not pulling the strings the same way.
He doesn't have the same political machinations as the others do, or as Varys does anyway.
Yeah.
Which Varys in this episode was, I think, pretty interesting. And beyond this, the conversation, which is great. Obviously, I mean, I have very little things to say about this episode that are bad, other than the whole,
Yarra,
the whole Yarra thing. But then you talk about his motivations is like they speak about his motivations in that conversation about he's like everyone is interested in something. Oberyn says, and he's like he was never interested in either because he's asexual or whatever that.
Yeah.
Whatever, so he doesn't care about women or men. Doesn't care. But then what are his motivations as far as when he testifies at the trial, which we're getting ahead of myself a little bit, but it's not that I want it to be laid out in black and white for me. It just seems I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out
that's kind of how he's supposed to be. Varys is kind of like the biggest question mark, he like his goals in terms of the trial were more self-serving than anything else, self-preservation.
I know that, but he could just not. I mean, if he didn't want to throw the guy under the bus, he could have just not said anything at all, right?
Well, he said they talked about it before when he visited Tyrion or something like that. He said that he would testify for the queen because she asked him to, and it would be out of character for him to deny her. So he had to say yes because if he said no, even if he didn't testify at all, if he didn't help Tyrion, him saying no would be out of character enough for her to realize that he had been helping Tyrion.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, yeah, I get it.
It's a little subtle game he's playing, but like what's not clear is who he's playing and what his actual goals are. He says a few times that he wants to protect the realm, but he hasn't been doing a great job of it.
Well, I mean,
pretty fucked up.
I could say that you could say that he's probably. I mean, I'm not saying that it's like his doing or anything, but like in the last little while, things have gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, with Joffrey's death, the war is essentially over. I mean, so I mean, there's not like a lot of turmoil as far as I mean, there is and there isn't, right? But it just seems like it's better off now than it was, let's say, like a couple months before in their time or whatever they call it, whatever month is there. A couple, what are they called? Fortnights. Yeah. I guess that's what 10 days, 14 days, something like that. 20 days. Anyway, is it clear? Is it like 24 hours in a day? Is it the same like idea there?
You stop asking these kind of you just have to assume that. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, it's not something that's gonna be laid out to you, I guess, either.
It's really not really. I'm not clear on it. In the books, they have different hours. They're named. There's the hour of the wolf, the hour of the owl, the hour of
like instead of 1, 2, 2, like 1, 2,
exactly.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
so it's different times of night.
Is there how many of those different names?
Doesn't say. They always say like, oh, he awoke at the hour of the wolf, or something like that. They don't say he looked at the clock and counted from the hour of the pigeon to the hour of the centipede.
No, but I'm maybe there's in a wiki somewhere like someone's put it together and figured it out. That'll be something. That's something I'll maybe look in later.
You're gonna find spoilers somehow, and
probably all I have to do is type Game of Thrones into Google, and I'll probably find spoilers, like the first page.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on from there.
After that, it's just the trial.
It goes right into the trial. After that, there's not a.
Well, JB goes to Tyrion's cell to take him to the trial, but same thing.
Yeah, not much happens there.
He just says, "Mustn't disappoint father."
So then we have Tommen recuse himself. I guess obviously at Tywin's like suggestion.
Bidding.
Yeah, suggestion, quote unquote. It's weird, like when he does it and then he walks right past Tyrion. I guess they never really knew each other that well, but he doesn't even even look at him.
He kind of liked Tyrion more than Tyrion liked them too, but he can't because now he has to be king. He's receiving all these instructions from Tywin, so like he had to do his duty basically.
Also, when he was doing like his whole like spiel, like we talked about before, like the whole King of the Andals and the First Men thing, I was like, you did a pretty good job of like remembering it and not even stuttering. Like he's like, do you think you practiced like earlier in the day?
Most likely did, yeah.
That's good practice. Kings need to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the trial's actually great. Like the way they do it is very I mean it's what
one-sided.
it's what no, I get. Yeah, yes, you could say that. But that's what I was getting at. That's true. We'll get there in a second, but it's the way it's filmed is very like classic like courtroom style drama, like of like witness like cut witness cut like
Yeah.
reaction shots, which is fine. I mean Law and Order's pretty much mastered how to do that. So I think why try to
Let's settle down, but yeah.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like
mastered it.
Well, what I'm saying is that like it's the way that type of event is shot and like put together has pretty much been established. It's like there's no reason to break the mold, which I'm fine with. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So who are all the witnesses? We get
first is Meryn Trant.
Yes, which we always talk about, but he's only ever seen every once in a while.
Yeah,
and he's never really. I don't think he's ever done anything good. Like he's one of those characters that's like overtly evil, as far as we can tell.
Not evil, but like he's just evil. He's just a bad dude. Like but he does his bidding. Like he does his duty.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically like other than Jaime and Barristan, who's no longer a Kingsguard. You probably couldn't name any of the others, right? Like,
nope.
There's a bunch of them. Not a bunch, but there's like 5 others or something like that.
It's again couldn't tell you. It's not. It's never really.
Anyways, they've kind of combined his role with like the rest of the Kingsguard. Like there you see them, but they don't have talking rules just because it's easier to have it be one character.
That makes sense.
But yeah, and then like his whole thing is like a callback to season 2 when Tyrion first comes back to the capital.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple times of those. It's like we think like those moments where we think he's like being awesome.
Yeah.
Is like the moments where he's really kind of just like digging his own grave, right?
Yeah.
Like when he slaps the king or he tells him to be quiet or whatever. So it's like all these times it's like, well, in retrospect and when you're looking at it of did he kill the king? It's like, well, he did all these things, so maybe, probably.
Everything's being spun against them. Mm-hmm. Certain things are being taken out of context. But...
Well, yeah, he's like, why didn't you tell him what you were doing when I said those things? It's like you were ripping off my wife's clothes and and Joffrey was aiming a loaded crossbow at her. It's like, of course I'm going to tell him to stop being crazy, And even like, here's the thing, like Tywin knows that it's all farce, like, and they after a couple, like I think we see him and then Cersei give their testimony. We already know what their testimonies are going to be like. It's obviously going to be very much...
Yeah.
And she gives the whole, ashes turn to,
Your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth.
And she said that a couple times. It's like... And that was... And they actually referenced when it happened. It was right before the Battle of Blackwater.
Yeah.
And I don't... But what else... remember what the context was? Did they mention what the context was? Or was it that was
It was
spun?
That she was talking about Shae. Like, she had done something... Like, she had found out about Tyrion and Shae, and I can't remember what she did, but she did something. That's why Tyrion
I thought she didn't know about that. That's the reason that the whole being...
Oh, no. It was it was about Shae, but he got her to believe it was a different whore or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. Fuck.
There's just too many whores. So we get those two, and then is that after that we have the break that they go into the... Or is
no, Pycelle is also one of the...
Okay, but anyway, you also... Pycelle's, to me, is the most ridiculous, because it's literally all made up.
Well, I mean, yeah, like Tyrion had him thrown in the black cells, but yeah, Pycelle's always been the Lannister's pet, and he was just... He called Joffrey the most noble child the gods saw fit to grace this earth.
Which is like even they're like, okay,
even Tywin's like
rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
But like he said like, well, my poison was
stolen,
and then like I love Mace. He's like listing all of his poisons. He's like, okay, enough. I get you have lots of poisons.
Yeah.
And then we get the name of the poison that killed him, which is the Strangler, which is sounds like sounds like a lame like name of like the newspapers would give like a serial killer, The Strangler is still on the loose.
Yeah. It was not like he listed off a bunch of other names of poisons. They all sounded like more exotic and like
and way cooler. And then he's like,
"This was just the killer,
the one that makes you dead." So anyway, so we get the three most overtly, obviously spun stories that they were like, okay, well, we know this person, this. They've all been directly. We know Cersei hates him, Tyrion. Mm-hmm. We know that Sir Meryn Trant is like he's a dickweed, and he doesn't like Tyrion.
He also hates Tyrion.
Yeah, and he's gonna do what is asked of him by Cersei, right? And
as his Pycelle.
As his Pycelle, also because he also dislikes Tyrion, right?
Yeah.
So then we get a break.
For the record, as his Mace Tyrell, he's gonna do whatever Tywin wants him to do.
Yes, which we know that he's one of the judges.
Yeah, and also the other witness was Varys. We already kind of talked about it, but to his credit, he didn't really take it out of context. Tyrion basically did threaten the king at that point.
Yes,
and afterwards, Tyrion asked him if he had forgotten about the Blackwater, and Varys says he hasn't forgotten anything, but he said, "Sadly, I never forget," or something like that.
Which is what brings me back to what I was saying before, and the whole his like motivation. It's like, okay, so because the whole time you're thinking the same thing as Tyrion. It's like, okay, like. Yeah, we remember you were like, there's a whole reason you tried to send Shay away is because this guy here, Tyrion, can help save the realm, and that's your whole thing. And now here you are, like throwing him under the bus, right?
I think it's maybe because Varys recognizes a sinking ship. Like there's nothing he can do to help Tyrion, so he's gonna do what he can to save himself and by consequence help the realm later.
But here's the thing: for all this made up evidence that there is that he killed him, there's got to be evidence that he didn't. Like, right? Like,
well, so I don't know.
No, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe whoever.
Because nobody other than the viewers and Marjorie know the truth, right?
Hold on a minute. Pycelle held up a necklace that was like, well, this is the necklace that Cersei, that Sansa was wearing.
He said it was found on Danto's Hollard. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they found that boat?
Means, they found that boat with Dantos. He neglected to mention the arrows and stuff, but they found the necklace on Dantos, and that's where he said there was residue of that poison on the necklace.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that's why they showed it distinctly falling into his thing. Okay. Even more evidence against him.
Yeah.
So then we get the break. And Jaime is... I mean, we know Jaime and Tyrion are close, right?
Yeah. Well, closer than anyone else in the family, yeah.
And then Tyrion now, Tyrion, Jaime, who's now been kind of cast aside by his lover / sister.
Mm-hmm.
And he really has no... he's kind of gaining like a conscience in some way. He's kind of like, listen, like this is all... He literally says this court is a farce, which is obviously true. It makes a deal that I think Tywin knew was coming. Like, he was like, yeah, sure, obviously.
He's like, done right away.
Yeah, like, oh, fuck. He's like, he knew I was going to do this. Right? So he's saying, if the deal was, when he's found guilty, because we know this, because the whole thing's a farce, that he'll plead for mercy and they'll send him to the wall. But then the whole thing is that the same thing happened with Ned, and
Joffrey
changed his mind and chopped his head off. But... I mean, there's no Joffrey anymore. There's no psychopaths. So, I mean, there is psychopaths, but like different ways. Like people, there's expectations. If someone said, if that same thing happened, no Joffrey, Ned would still probably be alive, right?
Yeah.
So
and if you think that Tywin probably would honor this deal because he's getting what he wants.
Yeah, and it's his own son still, right?
Yeah.
So
he's getting rid of Tyrion without killing him, and he's getting Jaime to be his heir. It's the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Right? Which they bring up the whole him being a part of the Kingsguard, not being allowed to have kids thing. Not that he's ever really followed that rule anyway. But he's trying to use it like it's like, well, I'm telling you, I'm not allowed, right? So you have to figure it out. Yeah. And then, and his whole like, I didn't. What did he say? He didn't save.
Oh, because the last order that Aerys gave
right.
before Jaime killed him was to bring him Tywin's head.
Right, so it's like, I didn't save my father to kill my brother. Is that what he says?
Something along those lines.
Which I thought was great. So this scene or the very last scene is either my favorite scene of the episode. I'm not sure yet. That or even maybe the one with all the way back at the Dreadfort still, I guess.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't at the Dreadfort, right? That's the whole thing. It's not. It was at somewhere else.
What are you talking about?
With Theon.
No, that's the Dreadfort. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He led him to believe that it was the Carhold with the Karstarks.
Oh.
That was that whole thing.
Oh, okay. But I was like, it's weird that I feel like there would be more men. With going back to that,
that's what it was so fucking stupid. They just walk in and walk out.
Like this whole I mean, they used hooks and stuff, but still.
No, fucking revolutionary technology.
Well, I guess for them. Anyway, so Jaime makes this deal And so he tells, and when he said when they made the deal, I'm like, okay, send him to the wall. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I'm like,
Right?
I can live with that. Like, that's cool. Like, I send him over there. He'll be at the wall. John will be there. They're two characters we both like together, dealing with a threat that we know is important. That's
Yeah, and the wall, they in the first season when Tyrion visits the wall with Jon, they say a few times that the wall needs men like Tyrion, and like, it's not just about fighting strength; they need strategists and stuff like
yeah.
that.
So I'm like, okay, I can live with that. And like, as long as he doesn't die and get his head chopped off, I'm like, okay. But then obviously, I'll skipping ahead to the end, and he says he wants the trial by combat. You're like, so either he's gonna die or he's gonna be let off, and either way, he's not going to the wall. So
Yeah,
anyway, so we come back, and we get is it just the one more witness, or
yeah,
is there
the one final witness.
okay? And it's Shay.
So yeah,
My
it's not on the
favorite.
ship across. Yeah, fucking, and you know what? She did exactly as well as I thought she would.
Yeah. So she tells all her made up, like super made up story, which doesn't even sound plausible. Like a lot of it, like it. I mean,
Well, it
maybe.
sounds like too easy,
Yeah.
Like, it's like why even bring out other witnesses if you have this? Just fucking-
Yeah. Exactly. Well, exactly. It's like, well, and saving best for last. I heard them talking about how they're gonna kill the king. Like, okay, and like, why? Who cares? Like, why would you believe this? Like, this handmaiden? Like, this, like, why is this person? You have all these important people brought up that are telling their own just like important story, and you're just gonna believe this handmaiden from like who knows where and who knows where she's been for the past like since Sansa's left? Like, that's that not important at all? You're Sansa's handmaiden, and you've just been, where have you been?
Well, I think the whole thing is wherever Tyrion thought she was, she wasn't, and whoever bought her and got her to testify, knew where she was, and like it's all official kind of stuff.
Well,
you assume it's either Cersei or Tywin,
which makes you think that maybe Bronn is involved in some way. I hope not. We all like Bronn, because Bronn said like, "Don't worry, like she's at the ship, right?" And so if
she
that's
obviously wasn't,
so then I hope Bronn's not.
Well,
I mean,
we'll
like,
see,
he's easily bought off, but like you thought that he had a little bit more loyalty than that. I don't know.
He's not the kind of character that has loyalty, but he's been loyal to Tyrion because Tyrion's always paid him the best. He says in season 1 that he would always, if Bronn ever is given the opportunity to betray him, Tyrion would double it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and last time Tyrion demanded a trial by combat, Bronn fought for him.
Yeah, so is that still a thing? If you demand a trial by combat, you can have someone fight for you in your place.
Yeah.
So what happens if they lose? Do you still
then he's killed.
Okay, and do you die? Do you still get killed?
Yeah.
And you and then you get
like
your head
if
chopped off.
Bronn had lost at the Eyrie, Bronn would have probably been killed just because of losing, and then Tyrion would have been thrown out the moon door.
Oh, okay. And everyone wants. What does he call him? Like the something kid fly? The
Oh, he just calls him the bad man.
Oh, the bad man. Oh,
Like the bad man fly.
Okay. All right.
So, anyways, yeah, Shay just fucking tells Spencer's story, breaks Tyrion's heart. He's like visibly like just hurt and like brought down by it all.
Well, and it's like so you have Jamie come out and tell him the whole plan, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, and the whole time I'm thinking it's like he's just standing there talking to him, like whispering, and everyone's around watching this. Like literally everyone was watching. I guess they can't hear what they're talking about, but and he's like, okay, like he seems like he's like there's better than dying, right? So he seems like visibly defeated, but he's like, all right, I'll agree.
Not like Tyrion agrees to do it,
and
this changes everything.
Yeah, and then so she comes out, and you can see like the visual anguish on his face. And we know how great Peter Dinklage is at acting, and this is just another example of this. And then he has this great like diatribe where he's like goes off on everyone there. I mean, like
just like takes out all his frustration at the people of the court,
like all the things that we've been thinking as like as fans, right, and viewers, like all these terrible things that have happened to him or around him, and it's like, it's like, what he said to Cersei is like nothing. Watching Joffrey die brought him more satisfaction than 100 lying whores. Yeah, which is like
it's a shot at both Cersei and Shay.
So, I mean, it's such, and then the way it ends, it's like with the whole, it's like, obviously I'm not going to receive any justice here, or justice, as they like to say in the show, justice. I would demand a trial by combat, which I guess is like one of those rights that they have in
Yeah,
Westeros.
it's his right, and yeah, that's how it ends. It's pretty epic. They have a couple cool tracking shots of key characters, their
Yeah,
reaction to
reaction
it.
shots.
The,
What?
and then the
What?
last one, like between Tywin and Tyrion, just staring each other down.
This episode is great. I mean,
Yeah,
like
fucking
like
great.
again, not a lot happened. Like we got some more. Like this is cool stuff. Like
Yeah,
either way, it's like it's a what's a status quo changer, right? Whatever happens at the end with Tyrion is not gonna you're not gonna see him in 2 episodes just hanging around King's Landing just drinking wine, probably.
yeah.
Right.
So
So
like shit's going down. You said it in motion. The trial by combat, but like the thing is, he will have to choose a champion and so will the crown.
wait. So yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, the crown has to pick one because he
Yeah,
can't fight a crown.
and then he's obviously not going to fight for himself.
Yeah, because he's a fucking dwarf. So
So who's he going to pick?
I mean, we don't know about Braun because with the whole Shay thing.
Yeah,
You could pick Jamie, but I mean,
is
probably
he good enough?
like is he good enough, and B
Would he even do?
would he even be allowed to do it? Like is that
Oh,
'cause
he'd be
on the
allowed
King's,
to.
he's in the King Guard though.
Yeah, he'd be allowed to.
Okay.
Pretty. Oh, maybe not. Maybe because he's in the King's Guard, he wouldn't be able. Because he would be fighting against the king himself, basically.
Yeah, so that makes it. I don't think he. It seems like it would be unallowed
Yeah,
unless
I
they
think
were like,
Jamie's exempt.
unless maybe the crown said in this case it's okay because they seem to do that a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, they have exceptions to the rule,
yeah.
but
So I mean, it'll be interesting to see like who are the best fighters. Like I don't like. So maybe okay. So assuming it's not Jamie who's picked to fight whoever it is, because it would maybe be the other Kingsguard guy that we talked about earlier.
Marin Trant.
So because he's probably pretty good if he's in the Kingsguard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like there's no one really around close by that you could get, right? It's not like you could bring in the mountain at any moment to just do this combat. But then who does Tyrion get? Like I don't. It's just like first
He has to choose. Well, the
first
thing
thing
is, someone has to volunteer to represent him too. They have to be willing. He can't just name.
No, I know, but it's like you say okay, well Braun again, but then you're like, we don't know. So that's what I mean. Like first thought is Braun, but if the whole thing with Shay is like because of Braun and he's already been bought off, then where does that leave him? It's like I don't know. Then you're like, whoa, would have really been great to have like someone like Brienne there or something, you know.
Well, even then, like Tyrion didn't really know.
Yeah.
Like, how many friends does Tyrion have? And you go down the list, he doesn't have a lot.
It's true. So
It's like Jamie and Braun are the only ones you can think of that you would even think would represent him.
yeah, or Pod, but like not like Pod would win. So
Yeah,
he's kind of up shit's creek, like they I think they like to say in Westeros.
yeah. That's the same. That's how it goes.
Do they say that in Westeros?
That's where it comes from. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, it originated in Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and with that brings us up to 58 minutes. So we pretty much always get to exactly an hour. Next time, just play the episode over with us talking about the episode over top of it. It'll just it'll match up perfectly. Don't actually do that.
That would just ruin everything.
Well, no, it's not like we could have a podcast up before the next episode. They've obviously watched this one already.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it would ruin the experience of both. You know,
it's like no, but we could do commentary. I was thinking about that, like, patent pending, but like do our own like unofficial commentary and like so you like sync up with the episode, and then they could be like, okay, press play now, and then we could talk about what's going on over the actual scenes.
We could try that. I would want it to be like my second viewing, though.
No, obviously.
But yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. It would literally be impossible to do on your first viewing because you wouldn't. How would you be able to talk about it? No, I mean, like, how would you be able to talk about something, and then I mean, like you wouldn't be able to listen to it, take it in, and then talk about it. Half it would just be us just sitting there not saying anything, right? Anyway, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast, BABBLE. See Dan's written reviews at the site, like I said at the top of the show, www.towerbabblepodcast.com. Facebook as well. Make sure to listen to our flagship podcast, the Tower Babble Podcast. That's also on iTunes and Stitcher and all those good places you find your podcasts. That's bi-weekly. So next Monday, we should have one of those as well. Other than that, what's next week's episode? That's what I always like to end with.
It's called Mockingbird.
Mockingbird. Oh, it is called Mockingbird. Should I read the? No, I won't do it.
Don't.
No,
It's not worth it.
no, it's not. I love the. Have you seen the image on IMDb of the Laws and Gods and Men? Like
No.
it's pretty funny. It's Tyrion and like standing at the like in his little booth there for the trial, but it's
Yeah.
like his face is pretty funny. It's like just like the biggest scowl you've ever seen.
Yeah, he did a lot of that, eh?
Yeah.
He was
like,
really upset.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say more actually of his quips. So, that being said, I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah.
We will talk to you guys next week.
Right.
Bye. Today's Game of Thrones theme was performed by Alric Fallet. It's the Western cover.